Hello again. We finally have a sunny day here, so I thought I would film a little bit outside. It's still kind of cool, but at least it's starting to feel like spring. And it's lovely to feel the change in the air and the softness coming along. Some of the plants are coming up. My snowdrops are actually thinking of opening instead of still being in suspended animation, so that's always exciting. And there are buds on lots of things, so I love this change. I love this time of year because when spring comes, that means summer can't be far behind, although sometimes it does take its time getting here. In my newsletter this week to my mailing list, I mentioned that I don't make New Year's resolutions anymore because it just kind of lost its appeal. However, as the days have kind of slid by in the weeks since Christmas and New Year's, I've realized that I've actually made a decision along the way. And that is that if something comes along that I have the choice of taking part in or doing or whatever, one of the first questions I ask myself is this going to be stressful? Because it's really important to me at this time in my life, but also because of some health issues that I've had, to really keep pressure and stress to an absolute minimum, or none at all, which is my preference. Recently, there's been a change of plans, which I'll tell you about in this video. I made the change partly because I felt like it would just be kind of stressful, and sometimes you have to kind of weigh it in the balance. Is the gain worth the stress? Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. This time I thought, you know what, there were a few things against this idea, so anyway, I'll tell you more about it. In the meantime, I'm also going to be working on a little glue book that I started sometime last year, and just adding some more pages, and I'll put a link to the original below so you can have a look for that one. But let's get started on it and just talk about making changes and why I made the change that I did. Maybe it'll help you think these things through as well. The book that I'm using is from a Woman's World magazine that is basically cut in 4. So you cut it this way, and then I had folded all the pages, and then which you can leave them folded to make if you want to make it sort of double thick, but I decided to tear them off. This paper is quite thin, which is fine. It's easy to use. You're going to add a lot of bulk anyway. I think I'll just start with something like this. I don't really have a plan. I just have some stuff to play with. So to begin with, let's just tear this off. I am going to actually line it up a little bit on this, which is very handy. And start by just laying down some backing papers. So I have big news. It's one of those things that you know it's the right thing, but it still doesn't feel great. It feels right, but not great. Let me put it that way. So if you watched my last video or last couple, I mentioned that I was planning this trip with my daughter to go to England this summer. And the reason for the trip to start with was that she signed up for a class at Oxford University, a 1-week class in medieval manuscripts, which is an interest of hers. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Anyway, we were going to make our flight arrangements and, kind of went, well, how about tonight? How about tomorrow night? Blah, blah, blah. And then she was away on the weekend, so when I thought we'd probably get to it. And let's just take this off here too. I'll use this little strip. All these little pieces come in handy. Anyway, I got a text from her the other day. Yeah, what day is it today? Anyway, it was a couple of days ago. And she said, so are we going to make our flight arrangements? And I'm like, yep, let's do it. So she called me last night. And how we do it, like she lives about an hour and a half drive away from me. And so when we've traveled together, we just make our flight arrangements at the same time. So we're on the website, like the airline's website at the same time, so that we can choose seats together and get the same days and the same flights and all that, right? So I'm looking at these, and we have decided, sort of as a general rule, that we will always take non-stop flights. And in case you're unclear about the difference between non-stop and direct, it is non-stop means there's no stops. It starts here, it flies over to here, no stops. Direct can have a stop. So you can be on plane A or flight 101 or whatever, and it's going to stop here to pick up people or whatever, and then carry on. So that can be a direct flights, because it's not going, you're not having to change planes or anything. It's just going to stop on the way. That's direct. So if you want a flight that doesn't stop anywhere, get a non-stop flight. So we're looking at these flights, trying to find days that are going to work for us and for her class and all that kind of stuff. And the plan was, we would go and spend a week in London, and then we would go to Oxford where her class is going to be. And then I would do my thing. She would do her thing, which is fairly encompassing, let's say, because was booked into the class that included accommodation and food and everything. These are quite stiff. I'm not sure I want to use that. Let me see what else I can find. So she kind of wanted to be there. It's sort of like going to, camp for smart adults. She kind of wanted to be there and be part of the whole, feel of it and all that kind of stuff. I like those pieces. And these ones. And she also, would want to do things with me, which, because we've traveled together numerous times and really enjoy it. Oh, here's some old pages. Look at this. I kind of forgotten that these were in here. Well, there's some ideas for you. That's fun. Anyway, she was a bit concerned that I would be on my own, which I didn't have a problem with. Probably more of a concern was that I would be on my own doing things that she would also want to be doing while she wants to be doing something else, right? Okay. Anyway, when we talked it over and looked at the scheduling and all that kind of stuff, I went, you know what? I don't know about this. I was having misgivings and not feeling completely at ease about it. I love the blue and the yellow side by side, but let's see. I think that's a bit much, but I like this as well. I think I'll use this and maybe do a little accent with the yellow. I don't know. Anyhow, in the course of our conversation, she said, it's kind of like trying to do two different holidays at the same time. And I was like, yeah, you're right, it is. Because hers was going to be different from mine, and part of it would be exactly the same and all this kind of stuff. However, it just felt complicated. And where I am in my life right now, it's been my goal this year in particular to avoid things that feel any kind of pressure or stress. Because I've mentioned the problems I've had with sleeping and whatnot, and I want to do everything I can to basically heal from this problem. And staying away from a lot of stress is definitely the way to do it. And when you go on an overseas flight, it's inherently stressful. It, like 20 years ago, it was no big deal. But since 9/11, that complicated air travel. And then COVID, oh my goodness, COVID complicated it further. Now, a lot of those restrictions have lifted. However, right now, airlines are trying to make up for lost revenue, and you can hardly blame them. You know, any business that had to shut down by law, which was pretty much every business except online, lost buckets of money, and it's hard to sustain a business when you're not making any money. The fair was going to be, and this is high season, so granted, high season. The fair was going to be minimum $1,500. That was the cheapest we found. Certain dates. I love this yellow, but maybe I can find something else that brings yellow in without me having to cover that up. That's too big. Oh, look, I love this tree. Anyway, you can't really blame them for wanting to maximize their revenue. I don't. I would do the same thing. Okay, I'm not just pulling those out of thin air. This is a tray of cuttings that I did from old calendars that I had saved, basically because I love the artwork on it. So I'm just kind of pulling a few things out here that I might use. Kind of going large and small. We'll see. I don't think I want that pink. Maybe there's some blue. It's kind of messy because I just kind of dumped everything in here, not having another place to put it. This fair of $1,500 Canadian was rock bottom, included nothing. I'd be surprised if they gave us a seatbelt. I'm just, you know, just saying. And you had to pay extra if you want to book your seats. Well, of course, if we're traveling together, we want to stay together. We want to sit together so we can share the fun of it. I love that. That's so pretty. I think I'll do that one. And that's too busy for that background. But you know what I might do is give it a background in yellow so that it stands out. Okay, I'll think about that for a minute. For us to sit together, we would then have to pre-book seats for an extra roughly $65 each. Look at this great little tub I got the other day at the dollar store. I haven't decided what I'm putting in it, but there's always something. So an extra $65, give or take, each way is going to cost another $130. That makes it $1,630. If you want to take anything bigger than carry-on, that's an extra $75 each way. So pretty soon, like before we know it, we're over $1,700. Now I did buy a new suitcase that's a carry-on, and so I could probably do that. But you know what? For $1,700, you can do a lot of stuff. And I said, you know, a rushed trip to England in high season is maybe not the best use of my money. Okay, let's do this thing. England is notoriously expensive, and I had been looking at the cost of hotel, and you know, anything that you really want to stay in is going to be even shared for the two of us to share. I'll just say it's expensive, okay? So I said to my daughter, I don't think I should go. I just was not feeling peace about it. And you know how it is when you're listening to the Holy Spirit and you're kind of going, like, which I was going, okay, Lord, should I do this? And I was not feeling peace about it. I thought, yeah, I could go for sure. It would be fun. It's always fun. It's always fun to travel with her and whatever. But I still, you know, kind of in my gut was feeling a little bit of unease. So I said to her, I'm having misgivings about going and spending all this money because it's going to be like a $4,000 trip for 2 weeks. And, you know, if I was choosing to do that kind of trip, this is what I would do. number one, I would go in either the end of April or early May, which is a beautiful time to go usually. And I would find a place in a village and rent a car and just tour around. And my husband and I have talked about doing this. This is the kind of trip we love. I love road trips. I love just taking your time, you know, tootle into a little village, find a place to have lunch or tea or whatever, and check out the shops, go for a walk in the park if they have one, you know, that sort of thing. And then hop in the car and go down the road and, you know, stop at a stately home and take the tour, or a castle or whatever. So if I were going and doing my own choosing, that's how I would do it. So I thought, you know what? I would go either in like late April, early May, or I would go in late September, early October, which are really nice times to go because it's not scorching hot. Like England is, you know, unpredictable. It could be cold and wet, or it could be steamy and hot, and I'm not going to go. And she said, I'm totally fine with that. She said, I would love it if you would, because it's going to be more fun. But she said, I was concerned about, you know, you kind of me doing my own thing while she's doing her thing that she doesn't want to be distracted from, because this was her big chance to do something she's really passionate about. Well, I don't want to get in the way, you know. And I don't want her worried about me. It's not like I'm decrepit or anything, and I'm certainly well traveled on my own anyway. However, that's kind of not the point. It's pretty cool, isn't it? You know, doing stuff like this is just like, your mind can kind of wander when you're just, you know, cutting stuff out, because there's no expectations for how it has to look or, you know, what you want to do. It's like you go from one thing to the next without any real goal. I mean, that's kind of how I do it. I don't really have any real goal. It's just to fill up a couple of pages with cute things. How's that for a goal? Now, the trick here is getting it in the right spot. There. Success! Anyway, she texted me today, my daughter, and said she'd made her reservations. One of the other things that I was a bit concerned about is my husband is having a big birthday at the end of July, and I didn't want to miss it. He said, I don't care, like, don't worry about it. But I thought, you know, and my other daughter was asking, like, what about Dad's birthday? So, problem solved there. Okay, I want to look for some other looks. Go with my big binder here. As you know, I love these little things with the letters. Letters and envelopes. So I'm going to put them over here so they don't get mixed up with that. The little houses. I'm not really sure that they have the look I want, but we'll find out. I guess I should get rid of this stuff here. Don't need the pencil either. And then there's, I did buy a lot when I bought these, so I'm going to take this batch out because they're a little bit bigger and they're not necessarily book related. So I'll see if there's anything that would go in here. When you follow the leading of the Holy Spirit, you know you've done the right thing when you feel elated after making the decision. It's like a big yes, right? So after I hung up the phone, that's exactly how I felt. I thought, oh good, the decision's been made and it's the right one. Now I can think about what I actually really want to do. Because originally I had said to my husband, the reason I'm doing this is because, number one, I love traveling with my daughter, and number two, she loves traveling with me. So what's not to love? However, I was doing it actually more for her sake than mine. And like I said, I would do the trip differently anyway. The other thing is, once I said I'm not going to go, I thought, okay, well, what is it I really want to do? And one thing that I really want to do is to go back to Provence, because if you're new to my channel, you probably don't know this, but many years ago I lived in the south of France, and I haven't been back since, and it's been like a few decades, which is too long. And I want to go back, and I keep reading books. Oh, that's cute. I'm going to put that guy on there, about other people who live in Provence and stuff like that. And it's like, I'd really like to do that. And my sister said, why don't we go to Paris again? I'm like, yeah, I'd happily go to Paris. I love it. But what I really want to do is go to Provence. So I asked my husband one day if he wants to do that. And he said he doesn't feel any need to go back. And we lived there when our kids were 7 and 12, and I homeschooled them. I want this up here. I'm not sure what else is going to happen. Anyway, it sort of gave me a chance to go, okay, what is it that I really want? Because, as women, sometimes we do what everybody else wants for their sake. And there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes we neglect what we really want in our own lives. And at this stage in my life, I don't feel like I have like another 50 years to goof off with. I'm going to put that one right there. Because, I might have 40 if I'm going to be really old, but let's face it, that's probably not going to happen. And I'm probably not going to want to travel when I'm 100. Just being practical. If not now, when? And actually, I was talking to my husband one day, and, he went to Iceland with our daughter, and he wasn't going to go. And we all kind of said, you should go. She asked me if I would go, and I said, I'm not interested in Iceland. Don't want to waste myself on it. For one thing, it starts with ice, and I don't like winter at all, so it doesn't sound like fun to me. It sounds miserable. Ooh, that's pretty. Anyway, we kind of talked him into going with her because she really wanted somebody to go with her. And he loved it. But the argument we used was, if not now, when? When are you going to do these kind of things? This rabbit is pretty cute. I might use that. But I think I'm going to put these ones back in their envelope here, in their little case, because I don't think I'll use any more of them. And have a look at some of these, because they are smaller. I'm going to might hang on to those two, but the rest of these, I'm going to go back in here. Anyway, that's sort of my motto, if not now, when. If I don't do the thing that I really want to do, there's a good chance that I'll end up never doing it. So there you go. I think I won't make this way too full. I keep coming back to the rabbit, so we'll do that one for now. Because tea party, hey. Anyway, we'll see what happens. I'll keep you posted. Let you know how things transpire. So to move on to a different topic, I went to grocery shopping today. Just needed a few things, and thought, well, and when I left, well, it was snowing all morning. I thought, you know what? I looked out. It's like the street is wet, and it's just around zero, which means it's not turning to ice. Anyway, I had a couple of other things to do when I was in town, which is a different town than the one I live in. And then I went to the big grocery store. When I pulled into the parking lot, I saw this woman standing on the road, well, in the parking lot, with a sign basically saying, please help me. 3 kids, single mom, needs money for the rent. And I thought, this woman is not a street person, because she had decent clothes on. So I parked my car not far away. And then I walked over to her and I said, "What's your story?" She said, "I'm a refugee in Canada from Bosnia, and she'd only been here a few months." She said, "I'm a single mom. I have 3 kids, and my mother lives with us." She was looking after the children, I asked. She said, "The government gives us money to get started again, but they only give us $800 a month, and rent is $1,200. And I thought, where the heck did you get something for $1,200? Because rents here are absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, I didn't ask her that because I thought if she was fortunate enough to get $1,200, a $1,200 place to rent, it could be, like a bachelor pad suite or something. I don't know. Anyway, she said, I need the rent, the rest of the rent, and I'm $400 short. So I thought, this is the kind of situation where I go, Jesus said, whatever you do to the least of these, you do to me. I thought, if I was driving past and I saw Jesus standing there, would I help him? I wouldn't hesitate. So I gave her all the cash I had, which was only about $19. But I also thought, she needs more money than that. And I'm not spending it on a trip. Which I had the money, but it was going to be tight. And I just want to say, I think it's important to actually talk about money, because if it's always secretive, people lose. I mean, for example, if a woman gets a job in a company and it's not made plain what everybody makes for that job, there's a good chance she'll be paid less than a man in the job. That's fact, because they can be secretive about it. So anyway, that's just an aside. So I went and got some groceries, got my stuff, and I thought, how can I give her some more money? Because my bank isn't there. What can I do? Anyway, I finally figured it out. You can get cash back when you buy something. Well, I'd already paid for everything and hadn't thought of that. So I went back into the store and bought a bag of oranges because we were out anyway, or just about out. And then I got cash back. So I took a bunch of money out of my bank account. And then as I was leaving, I drove past her on purpose, opened the window, and I said, "Here." She said, "You came back." And I gave her the cash. I asked her, "Are people helping you? Are they giving you money?" And she said, "Well, I've got about $70 now, but I'll be here for a while." She said, "I will pray for you. Thank you. I will pray for you." I said, I'm praying for you too. So here, if you're a praying person, I asked her what her name was. She said, "It's Elena." I can only imagine the rest of her story. But God is good, and when we pray, he answers prayers, and he looks after his own. So Elena needs money. She said, "I can't get a job because I don't have my papers yet to work legally in Canada." So she's obviously an honorable person, honest. This is just a cutout. Okay, let's do this right way. Anyway, pray for Elena and her family. I can't even imagine what she's gone through, that she has become a refugee from war-torn areas of Eastern Europe. And here, on her own with her mother and her 3 children. So there's always something you can do, even in situations like that. Even any little bit helps people. Be willing to help. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Be willing to help, even if it's a little bit. Even if you think, oh, I might be getting scammed. If you have a strong feeling about that, well then listen to it. But if not, if you can afford it, help somebody. Because of this busy background, I'm not going to put more on that. But here's this little book, which is starting to shape up. This one I did a lot of painting on because I had new gold paints and I wanted to try those. And then this one is more sort of vintage stuff, which is pretty. This is just kind of a hodgepodge again. And there's another page. And now the rest of it is like there's lots of stuff here. But this is a great way to just, if you want to get started on a glue book, start on a little one, because you can finish a page like this. You know, you can even just do one and then go have a coffee or whatever, read a book. Please subscribe to my channel and click the little bell so that you can get the notifications when I have new videos. And also leave a comment, because I love hearing from you and love hearing what you have to say. And click the like button, because that tells the algorithm that other people might like my videos. I'm trying to grow my channel and I would love it if you could help me. That's it for today, and I'll see you next time.